Well, he's so all in on this, and the more you talk to him, the more you go, God damn it, he might be right.
He might be. I debunk a lot of his claims.
Which ones?
Not all of them. You know, like the parallel shadows and how how a shadow on the moon should be completely black, but that's not really true. And shadows.
Well, things are reflective, and the surface is
Of course.
reflective. That's part of the issue. But the parallel shadows are fucking weird. Like, you could find a reason why these intersecting shadows could exist, but it also could be more than one source of light. Like,
Sure.
There's a lot of weirdness to it.
And shadows are not parallel. They don't work that way. Shadows disappear to the horizon.
Right.
You know, there are no parallel shadows.
Right, but going in completely different directions is very odd.
It's odd.
It's
but
very odd. That's not nearly as odd as, I mean, there's so many different things. You know, there's so many things, like how goofy it looks when that craft lifts off from the moon and takes off into space, and it's wobbling around like it's on a fucking string.
It looks like it's on a string, and
it looks so fake.
the camera tracks it nicely.
Yeah, pans.
But it's
from where?
From
Houston?
Earth, from Houston
Yeah.
with the 7-second delay or whatever
How about the fact that Nixon is on the phone with them
in real time?
in real time? Like, you know what kind of delay there would be with 1969 technology communicating? Like, one of the reasons why Gus Grisham, you know, there's the big theory is that Gus Grisham was murdered because he wasn't willing to go along with it. Gus Grisham hung a lemon on the lunar module because he wasn't able to communicate with the tower from Earth. The communication system wasn't working. And he's like, this is a fucking lemon. And he puts a lemon on a coat hanger and hangs it on the thing. And then...
Well, let's go back and look at the original films, and maybe we'll learn something.
Oh, they don't have them anymore.
Gone.
They're gone.
They don't
what
know.
about the telemetry data? That's really important.
Gone.
Oh.
With the episode I did on the moon, which is a fun one, I even have a NASA scientist saying we don't know how to redo the technology. We just lost it.
Yeah.
Didn't write anything down or nothing.
And then there's the reality of the Van Allen radiation belts.
That's true. That it could be explained scientifically.
Can it?
The radiation is high particles, high voltage, all that, but they're spread wide apart, so you just got to go really fast through them.
Right, but it took hours to get through it.
It did, but they still were moving fast.
Or it would kill everybody.
Or it would kill everybody. This is one of these
nobody but the Apollo astronauts ever got through that. What I always say is, like, they never even flew a chicken through that shit and had it come back alive.
No.
And they're just going to try it out with people?
Laika the dog did not survive
Right.
when they threw Laika up there.
Well, how about Operation Starfish Prime, where they shot a nuke into there to try to blow a hole through it, and it wound up making it more radioactive?
Of course.
They thought they were going to blow a hole
Right.
in the Van Allen radiation belt so they could just pop through that hole.
Right, and now thanks to that, we've got the South Atlantic anomaly where there's just no protection anymore. We appreciate all that.
They
Crazy.
blew out the power in Hawaii.
Right.
Yeah, they fucked up the grid. They were detonating nukes in space.
Really crazy.
People in the 1950s and 60s were buck wild.
They were.
They had so much power. There was no internet. There was no oversight. And they were doing things that were completely new, like nuclear bombs. And they're like, let's see if it does this.
Even Oppenheimer, they didn't know what was going to happen.
They had a more than 0% possibility that it was going to cause a chain reaction that would destroy the entire environment of the Earth.
Yes.
And they were like, let's see.
Well, we got to try
There's
it.
only one way to know. Mm-hmm. Let's
Right.
detonate it.
And something like Bikini Atoll, which I think was Castle Bravo, was like 3 times more powerful than they thought. You know, it's like we're going for 10 kilotons, but we got 30. Dude, you got to carry the one. Be careful. Be careful. Just be careful.
Carry the one.
I don't even know why we messed with it.
Yeah, it's too late.
Too late.
The genie's out of the bottle. So if you had a bet, if you had $100,000 and you can give a bet, we went to the moon, we didn't go to the moon.
Well, that money's not enough. But gun to the head.
Gun to the head.
Gun to the head. We went to the moon without people. That's what I would go with. But let me preface by saying, my head, I'm like a bobblehead. I go back and forth, and I can be convinced one way or the other. It's a very complicated issue. Like, I can be convinced both ways.
There's also the weird footage that looks like they're on wires where they're pulled up when they fall down.
You could see the reflections.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get into
Weird.
It's a good episode. I get into all of that. I cover Bart. Buzz Aldrin knows how to throw a shot.
Kind of. Didn't get his hip into it. Old shoulders. But it's also the thing is that like every other technology from 1969 is cheaper, easier, and faster to reproduce today, except the moon landing.
Right.
That no one has ever done it again. No one has ever even been to deep. Not human beings have ever even been to deep space.
There's no. I don't know why. You know, if we could 3D print anything, why don't we send a 3D printer up into orbit, and then every time Elon launches a Starlink, just bring some substrate, bring some wire, and just deliver it there. Every time, because you're going to do 10,000 of them. Just bring some wire, bring some aluminum, and we can just build the stuff in orbit. We don't have to worry about escaping gravity. Just build stuff up, 3D print stuff in orbit.
It sounds a little more complicated than you're making it out to be, but I see what you're saying. Well, you know, the film footage, the lost footage that Sabrell had is also very compelling, where it looks like they're filming the moon from, 30,000 miles out, but then when they pull the covers off the windows, it shows you they're actually in near Earth orbit.
It fills up the whole window, and they even say in that film, we've got the camera right up against the window. No one can get in between it.
But then someone walks in
Someone
between
walks
the camera
by,
and the thing.
and then you see what looks like a piece of plastic go whoosh,
Yeah.
and then everything opens up.
That's a hard one to explain.
It is.
And not for public display.
Not for right. That's
Yeah.
absolutely right.
And also, the why would you ever delete all of the original film? Why would you destroy the original film? Why would they lose the telemetry data?
And we don't even have a direct feed because they broadcast the feed on a wall and then pointed a TV camera at the wall.
Yeah.
And that's what we see.
Yeah, that's why it looks so shitty on television in 1969.
Because the networks were like, hey, can we get the live feed? And NASA's like, you don't need that.
It's so weird.
It's weird.
It's a weird one. It's also just weird that we keep saying we're going to go back and we still never even get out of Earth's gravity or never even get out of Earth's atmosphere. Or Earth's orbit, rather.
As soon as the Chinese start mining like helium-2 or whatever, we'll get there.
And people always say, "Oh, well, there's photographs of the lunar lander on the moon. You can see it." Like, how'd they get that buggy up there? How'd they piece that buggy together? In that little tiny ass fucking lunar module.
Because you can see the tracks up there, if you believe the stuff.
What does that mean? How easy is it? There's video of me selling Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Oh, I got to look that up.
There's you know what I'm saying?
I got to write that down.
It might not even be Kentucky Fried Chicken, but it's like there's AI video of me hawking all kinds of stuff that I've never even seen.
I know, you show up in my feed. I'm like, oh, he's selling chicken.
It's all fake. But that is easy to fake because it's blurry nonsense photos.
In my episode on the face on Mars, I show exactly how NASA copy and pasted cloud formations. You literally see it's the same cloud formations. And then you see the Mars photos. They copy and pasted chunks on Mars. They did that. Like, I didn't make that up. What
do you mean by that? They copy and pasted chunks on Mars?
You've got this Martian rock face.
Cydonia.
Cydonia is where the face was, and the alleged city, and
what about
all
that
kinds
square.
And the square's crazy.
Square, but that's a recent one that we've been seeing.
Yep.
That one's nuts.
Cydonia was one of the original landing places, and they changed it at the last minute. Why? I will land there and go to the face. Let's see, because if you don't know the story about the face on Mars, the first image is it does look like a face, and then suddenly the images got blurrier, and then it was just kind of a plateau. It was, pareidolia. It wasn't really a face.
Right.
Well, then land there. Drive, Sojourner over there, whatever. Let's have a look.
What's crazy is that the face is right down the street from the square.
Yes.
The square, to me, is way more compelling than the face. Because if the second images were more clear and it really is just, how do you say that word again?
Pareidolia.
Pareidolia. If that's really what it is, that kind of makes sense. Because the first one's like real blurry and shitty, and it was from the 70s.
True.
Right? But this square is nuts.
Right. It looks geometrical.
Yeah.
Right angles.
And an actual square, or at least similar to a square. It looks like a structure made out of right angles, and it's on the fucking moon. I showed it to Elon Musk. He's like, oh, very interesting. We should probably go up there and look around.
We should.
Yeah.
I mean, they're finally admitting that Mars used to have an atmosphere and oceans, giant oceans. They're finally
and they
admitting
found frozen water on Mars. Yeah, which is like, okay.
Yep.
Well, if we go back millions and millions of years, like what did it look like? What was going on there?
Remember, they sent Joe McMoneagle to remote view back on Mars.
Oh, what did he say?
He said he saw giant, tall beings there in a very advanced society. And Joe McMoneagle is part of the Project Stargate remote viewer. So that he goes into his thing and he's drawing the aliens and the cities and all of that. But he didn't know where he was looking. They wouldn't tell you at first. And then he's done. He comes out of his trance or whatever, opens the envelope, and it says Mars with coordinates 1 million BC or something. He said he saw stuff. And Stargate, again, Ingo Swann saw all kinds of stuff on the far side of the moon, which I don't hear covered a lot with Ingo. But he remote viewed the moon because he always wanted to do more stuff. He's like, I don't want to look at a bridge. I want to go to the moon. And he said he saw structures on the far side of the moon that sound a lot like Carl Wolf disclosed in 2001.
What did he disclose?
Carl Wolf, Air Force airman. He's basically a technician. Think of a Xerox repairman. He has to fix some imaging equipment for NASA/DOD. It's images from the moon surveyor. So he goes in. It's a dark room. The guy's working there. The guy's like, Carl, look at this. It's pictures of the dark side of the moon. He sees domes, towers, roads, all kinds of stuff. And he can't believe it. And Carl goes home and he's told his wife, I can't wait to see this on the news. This is crazy what we found on this is a civilization on the moon. And it just goes away. And Carl Wolf said he saw that.
Remote viewing.
No, photographs.
He saw photographs.
He saw photographs of it. He saw photographs.
Who took the photographs?
It was the moon surveyor satellite that takes pictures all the time. It's like we have images, we have stuff around the moon. I don't know why there's no webcam. I don't know why we can't just tap into
Throw
the
a
image.
satellite up there.
Something. They're there. Just send a signal back. I read that they just got like 5G working in space. Send us a signal. Put a webcam on the ISS. Let us tune in. So Carl Wolf saw that stuff. Ingo Swann saw the same things, but he saw actual beings there. And he said they were able to sense his consciousness. And he snapped out of it. He said, aliens are on the far side of the moon, and they are not our friends. It's a very interesting story. Ingo Swann, very interesting cat.
So what took these photographs?
The moon surveyor, lunar surveyor, satellite.
And none of that stuff's ever been released?
Oh, they released a lot of images from the far side, but they release what they release. That's why we know there's fewer impacts on the far side, because we've seen those images.
But there's no images of these domes or whatever?
No. I've seen some that maybe are faked, that look pretty compelling. I forget what episode I just showed them in, but when I found them, it was mind-blowing. And I can't find them again for some reason. I wanted them for another episode, and I can't find the photos, which is always suspicious to me. It's like suddenly the thing is blurry off of Malibu. So you just can't find the stuff. But my gut tells me something's going on up there. Someone's aware of it. I'm dying to know what it is.
It would be unbelievable if Mars was the first planet that had life before Earth was capable of supporting life. It reached a very high level of sophistication and then started seeding Earth.
Right. Panspermia theory.
Yeah.
I believe we have at least one rock from Mars that just landed here. I think we have one of those. So from maybe a giant impact or something threw some of Mars over here.
Dum, dum, dum. But the idea, I think, is that their atmosphere was deteriorating or that they were getting further and further from the sun.
Their magnetic field was weakening, strips away the atmosphere.
And so this would be the thing. If you were a super advanced civilization, the race would get so advanced that you could leave your planet.
Yes.
And that's the only way you're going to survive, because eventually your planet is going to move over millions of years further and further away from the sun, not able to inhabit life anymore.
Right. So maybe send your DNA or whatever to the third rock.
What are the ancient stories of a moonless sky? Where are they from?
Ancient Indian texts will have it, but also native legends will have it about the moon.
Really?
About a moonless sky, and then the moon arrives. And
when do they think the moon arrived?
It's hard to tell. I always go to Younger Dryas, but who really knows? The Earth was apparently just covered in this haze, just very wet, very hazy, maybe like Venus or something like that. Then the moon arrives and all that water from the atmosphere drops down to Earth. The tidal forces are crazy. There's a huge flood and everything just settles. And then the moon is here. And the moon is now like the guardian of the planet, which it really is. We couldn't really survive without it.
Because it stabilizes our atmosphere, right?
Stabilizes us and
Stabilizes our orbit.
our orbit and our spin and our axis.
Yeah.
Like when there's a major earthquake, the Earth changes speed. The spin like our spin, it changes like measurably if there's a big earthquake, and if there's a lot of those, that could throw you off the axis. But the moon steps in like a bouncer and it settles things back down.
So the idea would be that some sort of a superior civilization placed the moon there to ensure our survival.
I don't think they care about us.
Really?
No, I don't think so.
How come?
Again, we're in very speculative territory because nobody knows.
Right.
But I would think it would just be for resources. Hey, this place has a lot of stable water. That's
it?
useful.
Don't you think they would be fascinated with us as an emerging civilization? And like I always say, that if we found a planet that had cave people on it, like just starting to learn stone tools and stuff like that, we would for sure be interested in them. We'd be so fascinated. And we would probably try to accelerate their learning curve.
You think we would?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, well, think of what a lot of these jerk-offs have done with, like, uncontacted tribes and stuff like that. We're always trying to intervene and do something with them.
You know the dark forest theory?
No.
It's Lucian Shah who wrote the three-body problem and all those.
Oh.
Dark forest theory says that if you attain a certain level of technology, the best thing you can do is just be quiet. Because the universe is a dark forest, and the first person to stick his head out dies. Because you don't want a competitor in your region. So as soon as a culture gets close to some technology that they're on a path to threaten you, you got to take them out. You got to halt their technology. The three-body problem is kind of based on that. That's what they do in the books, and that seems to make a little more sense to me than sort of this altruistic, hey, let's help them, the Star Trek approach. Let's make first contact and all of that. I like, human nature is a tricky thing. We're very selfish. You and I might want to see those people and help them along, but there's a lot of people that would not want a competitor in the neighborhood.
Well, yeah, maybe. But what if they don't even think of us as a competitor? What if they're so advanced? Like if they're millions of years advanced? Wouldn't they like this is the thing that Diana Pasulka and Gary Nolan and a lot of these people that study crashed retrievals, there's a term that they use that these are donations.
Right.
That these vehicles are donations, and that the idea is we're supposed to look at this and formulate new ideas through reverse engineering.
And there's circumstantial evidence that that's true. If you look at Bell Labs and all the crazy discoveries after Roswell, like we're using cathode ray tubes and suddenly transistors are made and silicon semiconductors and wireless transmission. And Bell Labs is all these leaps forward.
Fiber optics,
laser technology came out of Bell as well. And, the retrieval experts say that fiber optics and lasers for sure is reverse engineered. And it kind of makes a lot of sense because it seemed to have come out of nowhere. Suddenly Bell Labs has it. But it's my question is where is the stuff? We've got World War II. We go into Korea in 1950, and at the time, Russia had the MiG-15 was basically on par with us. I think we had the F-86 at the time, and MiG might have even been better. So that would have been a great time for some advanced tech. But America did catch up and exceed the Soviets about 51, 52, during Korea, and then has been superior ever since. But you would think that after 47, with the Soviets there, let's get some of this anti-gravitic stuff going.
Yeah, maybe the problem is that you're working in this very compartmentalized environment, so you're not allowed to share with all these different scientists. So because of that, there's no collaboration, which is necessary for real innovation. You have to have experts from a bunch of different fields analyzing all the different aspects of it. This is what Lazar pointed to, the problems that they were having at S4 when they were trying to back engineer this stuff. He's like, you can't do science like this because everything is so top secret and so compartmentalized the metallurgists were not allowed to talk to the propulsions people, and no one was allowed to talk to anybody else, and everybody was just like, "What the fuck is going on? Like,
Right.
what are these things? Where like they didn't even tell him allegedly, if the story's true, they didn't even tell him where this thing came from. They show it to him, and there's a United States flag sticker on it, and he's like, "Oh, this is ours. Oh, that makes sense." And then he's examining. He's like, "Oh no, it's not. Like, there's no seams in this thing. Like, what is this? What is the metal? Why is it designed for something that's 3 feet tall? Like, there's no controls inside this thing. Like, what is this reactor? How does this thing work?"
There's a chair.
Yeah.
There's a couple of chairs. It looks like there's a neural interface, maybe. You hear a lot of the scientists, their frustration. Like, if I could just talk to these guys,
Right.
I'm picking up an EM field from this. The metallurgist would be helpful here to tell
Right.
me what's going on. I keep coming across spinning mercury all the time.
Spinning mercury.
The spinning mercury engine has been part of the lore since ancient India has the Vimanas, those craft. If you look at the ancient text, it may have been in the Mahabharata.
Yeah.
But they allude to this liquid metal. And then you fast forward to like the Nazis building the Bell, the Die Glocke. That was a mercury engine. And then we fast forward a little further, Mark McCandlish and the ARV vehicle, the flux liner. That's spinning mercury engine. So spinning mercury keeps popping up. And spinning mercury would cause some type of field. What that would be, I'm not a scientist or physicist, I'm not sure, but it would certainly throw off a bunch of ions that could maybe be harnessed or used for something.
Well, it's like we're trying to explain things to us based on our current understanding of technology. Like, glass was invented a long time ago, but imagine showing up with a brand new Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra with Gorilla Glass, in that thin frame, and looking at that. They were, what the fuck is this?
There'd be statues of you
Right.
for 1,000 years.
Well, you know what glass is, and you know what metal is, right? Well, this is glass and metal. You're like, what?
What?
No, what the fuck is this?
We took sand and made it real hot, and it made it clear. Huh?
What? And
Right.
you can drop it on the concrete and it doesn't break.
Right.
What? Yeah. So just our current understanding of technology based on the origins of that technology, just metal and glass. You show someone metal and glass is thousands of years old. Show them what we have now with metal and glass. They'd be blown away. And you just keep going. Keep going. Go 1,000 years from now. Like, what does it all look like? It's like probably some sort of gravity propulsion system, probably 3D printed, so there are no seams.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the frustration about disclosure is how far could we be by now?
Right.
Had there been disclosure in 47 or whenever.
It's even more of a psyop if it's all bullshit. Like, it's a psyop if it actually is like, wow, the government is actually really good at one thing. They're good at keeping secrets about UFOs.
That's right.
But if they're not, if it's all bullshit, like, boy, how weird that we've been like focusing on this nonsense. Like, as a culture, it got in the front page of the New York Times in 2017. But meanwhile, it's all nonsense.
Right.
That's almost less likely.
Well, if you look at what Doty did in the 70s and 80s with Paul Benowitz, when Benowitz discovered this advanced technology on Kirtland Air Force Base, he called the base and said, "Hey, I think there's UFOs." So they send Doty out. He was Air Force Intelligence, OSI. They send him out to Benowitz, and he's like, "Paul, I think it might be UFOs. It is aliens." And Paul gets a little bit wacky, and he starts intercepting signals from outer space, and they're sending him messages, but it turned out it's really the NSA rented a house across the street, and Paul is committed at some point. And then Doty, over the years, changes his story and says, no, a lot of it is actually true. But Doty is also, he said as recently as 2019, Hal Puthoff tried to recruit him for a disinformation campaign with ATIP.
Really? So Hal Puthoff has been a part of disinformation campaigns.
Allegedly forever.
And what have they been doing with these disinformation campaigns? What have they been trying to muddle?
Just to keep guys like you and me fascinated and trying to figure stuff out while they can just operate their advanced technology in peace. Like, let them think it's aliens and UFOs. That's fine.
What a dirty thing to do to
Filthy.
us.
In the 50s, they were very public about anti-gravity. It was in the
Yeah.
papers.
Yeah.
The G engine, they were talking about it. And then suddenly, whoosh, quiet.
If you enjoyed today's episode on JRE Plus, Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you.